Okay, so I am making this video because I have just discovered something amazing in Autocrit. Now I'm gonna give a disclaimer here and say that I've had Autocrit for a long time. And I think it was probably in the last couple of years though that I've really started getting into some of the offerings that they have, because what's really cool, what I really love about Autocrit is that it's not just software. The software alone is great, but as you can see here on the hub, they offer so many different courses and classes and ways that you can enhance your writing education. They have the community, which is essentially like a forum that you can post in. So it's like a little community. They have, of course, as I was mentioning, the Academy is their courses, and they have a ton of courses. And then they also offer author services. I have not personally used any of these, and I don't know if I will, but I do know that if I were going to, some of the people, how do I say it? The coaches, I'm going to call them coaches. Some of the coaches are people who also run some of the courses. And if you have spent any time with me in a writing capacity, you know how much I love Gareth, who teaches the Nightmare Fuel course here at Autocrit, but also does, he hosts Horror Club, and he does some other writing related things with Autocrit. So he's one of their coaches. So if I were going to use this service, I would probably be asking for Gareth in particular, also because my genre is horror thriller, and that's also what he specializes in. So all of that is to say that Autocrit is not just I want to go back to this main hub. It's not just the software. That being said, I actually hadn't really gotten into using the software until this year. And that's because they really started coming out with videos and tutorials on how to use it. And I just was not in a place before to like learn something new, which sounds weird because I'm always learning something new. But I should say I didn't want to learn how to use a new writing software when I already have so many already in place. But as I'm working on a new book series, I decided, and I'm like at the beginning stages, I thought, well, why not go in and start using the software and see what it's about. And as I was doing that, I started to realize that they have added so many cool things, and I am just like, I'm blown away. And so I really wanted to share my experiences. And I'm not getting paid. I'm not sponsored by Autocrit. I will be posting links to certain Autocrit things, and that will be an affiliate link, but that's it. I just am a lover of the product. So let's get into it. So when you first log in, and another thing I'm going to be honest about, I don't know where the differences are versus the paid and free or light version, because a couple of years ago I did the lifetime access thing that they had going on. So I'm a lifetime member. So I don't know if this actually looks any differently, but for me, when I log in to Autocrit, this is what I see. And it's the hub essentially. And what it's doing is pulling in some quick items that you might want to just go off with. They have the community events over here, the workshops that they have going on, and then just some other things of note. So from the hub, you can continue working on your most recent file. You can analyze an existing story, and I will go into that in a bit. You can go to, like, if you want to start a brand new story and you just want to use the builder idea, then you could use that. And then if you want to upload a file or start a blank document, you can also do that here. So if you click over to the writer's desk, in here is also where all of your projects and your story ideas and your stats live. I'm probably not going to go too much into this because I don't really use it all that much. I'll show you what it looks like. Because I am moving documents and things all over the place, it doesn't really work for me the way that I think it could work for like accountability for other people. But I'm just wanted to show you what it looked like. Story ideas kind of goes back to the idea of starting, you want to start something new, but you don't have a whole lot done yet on the idea. And so you can start a new fiction idea, a new nonfiction idea. And then here you can link these ideas to actual projects and files. So let's go over to the projects and files. It will always show you when you're in your writer's desk, it lands on the projects and files page, and you have the same options to upload a file, blank document. This is a quick copy and paste that you do on the original hub, and then it will show your recent files. And if you scroll down, you can see all of your projects. These are the active projects that I have going, and there are these little drop downs, and you can put in the files that go to each of them. So they're nicely organized in that way. So as you can see, my projects, it will tell you like the total word count, date created, last edited. I cleaned out and re-uploaded a bunch of things in preparation for like actually going in and using it. So I used to have a whole lot more in here to show you dates that go back 3 years. But I since have cleaned it up. So you can see that I have all of these are the 3 projects that I'm currently working on. But what we're going to go over today is the Until They Burn, because that is the most completed file that I have brought in here. And it offers the most in terms of letting you see just how powerful the software is. So we're going to go into Until They Burn first revision, which means that this is the version that I recently lightly edited for serialization. So it's going to have a big edit, especially after putting it through this software. But it has been just lightly edited. So here is kind of your, what I would call the workspace. And there's a lot of stuff. It can feel very overwhelming at first. But once you kind of get used to what everything is, it becomes much easier. So let's start from the top. These are just some basic word count things. How many words did you add today? How many deleted word? What's the total word count of the document? And here with this word count, you can actually, you can toggle all of this on and off. They have like a writing timer, so you can like set timers for yourself, and then positive reinforcement. This is actually like when you're writing, if you're writing directly in this document, it will give you positive reinforcement, which I think is awesome. So I haven't needed to use this because obviously I brought this in after it was completed, but that has the option. Let's go down the side toolbar. So the notes are exactly what you would think. It's like a little note board. So again, I don't really have anything in here because I brought the completed story in, but let's just, if you wanted to write a note and say reminders, that will be the name of it, and then put I don't know, I'm just going to make up something silly. add a unicorn, if I can spell, in chapter 7. And then you can even, have a different color. So it's almost like a Post-it note, and then you save and it shows up here. And you can move it around if you had multiple notes. That you can turn it into like a full screen. You can copy, move, delete, export, all those fun things. So that's there for you right here up in this corner. And so that you can, access it easily. Some of these are self-explanatory. The save, it does auto-save, but it's never a bad idea to save. Also, one of the tricks that the creators do in some of their tutorials, like if you want to have, if you're someone who likes to like save every iteration of your story, then what you can do is, like, let's say I want to make edits directly into this this version that I've updated. What I can also do is click save as, and then it does have versions down here where it will versionize them for you. But if you want to have everything super clean, then you might want to consider using the save as. So this becomes, first revision, and then you save as, and that becomes second revision, for example. I'm not actually sure what, okay. So there are some, like I said, there's a lot of cool things that Autocrit does. And one of the things that they do are these like challenges. And so if you are signed up for a challenge, you could actually, I guess right here, submit your chapter or your book into one of their challenges. So this one's obviously over, and I didn't pay attention and didn't know. So there's that. Export, so your typical export, I think export with highlights means exports with like, I don't know if you can comment on things or not. I haven't needed to export with highlights, so I haven't tried that, but apparently you can. Find and replace. You can create bookmarks. So like if you know, for example, let's say this chapter I know needs work, but I'm not doing that right now. I want to go through the whole thing first. Then I could create bookmarks, and I could say like, I could, put that with a note, link it to a note, or I could say like bookmark name, come back to this, or something like that. So you can set bookmarks for yourself, and then you can go to those bookmarks. Thesaurus, which is, pretty standard, and dictionary. I think if you, so if you highlight something, it's going to give you the dictionary and the thesaurus. So that's pretty cool. For spelling and grammar, what's interesting is that they actually have tied in Grammarly. So you can turn this on or off. If you have a Grammarly Pro subscription, you can hook that up to it. So there's that. They've added dictate, which is great. You can now dictate your chapters. You can have it read back to you. And then here are your options. Like you can check and see.
This is an example of my voice.
Who you want to read it. And then this is a very interesting one. So this highlights the dialogue, and you can see it's highlighting, and perhaps you want to see how many dialogue chains you have going on in your chapter or whatever. It's just a quick, easy way to see all the dialogue. And then here you can change your display. You can move it to dark mode. You can move it to minimal, or move it to page view. And then these are how you can customize your word list. So if there's certain, like if you're writing fantasy, for example, and you have a world that's named differently, the spelling checker is probably going to mark it. So you could add that particular word to your list, and when you run a report, it's not going to flag that particular word. And same thing for character name lists or words to exclude. So that is this side stuff. This I'll get into in just a minute. But I wanted up here. So when you there's a lot of different ways that you can work with chapters here in Autocrit. And if you upload a full document like I did, it will auto-find, you can auto-find the chapters. And here's, if you don't know what something is or how it's working, you can always click here and it will open to the little support about how to use it. So you can auto find the chapters, which it did for mine, or you can always add a new chapter and add that in here. So then we have all of the tools, and you can go through one by one if you want. Like if you are really concerned about showing versus telling and you don't really want to mess with anything else, you can select this particular thing and you can this particular aspect, I guess I'm going to call it, and it will bring up the report for just that single aspect. And so each different heading has different aspects to it. And so you can click those individually. And again, you can bring in the fiction story builder. So let's say all you had was chapter 1 and that's all you had. Then you could click this and it will take your chapter 1 into consideration and it will help you build out that story. Same thing with what happens next. It will read what you have and then it will change the mood. I haven't used yet. So not quite sure how that works, but I'll experiment with that later. I want to go back over though to the analysis because this is where I have found most of the I'm just blown away. I'll just say that. I am just blown away. So what these will do is this fiction analyzer and the summary report, because obviously this is not nonfiction, so I won't use that. And a combination report will just combine them. But what it's doing is it's taking all of these aspects, all of these that we've gone over, and they're putting it all in one single report. At least that's what the summary report is doing. The fiction analyzer is taking what you've given it and it is comparing with whatever you choose here in this section over here. So if I click that, what you can do is you can choose whether or not you want your story to be analyzed against a particular author or a particular genre. So if I click here, it gives me a lot of different people, right? It's giving me all these different authors. There's also within this, there's genres. So if you are more concerned with, like, you want to compare and analyze your story against general fiction, for example, you could select this and it will change that out. And I'm going to go into like horror. I'm going to select that. And I don't know, in the report, it seems that they will compare two different sections, and I don't know how to choose that. I want to go back though to Frida McFadden, as I think her name, because she's one of my comp titles. So, and it's going to tell you like up here, comparing with author, blah, 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 comparing with horror genre. So if we go into the fiction analyzer, now it starts to work. And you have an opportunity. You can choose an analyze all chapters or only changed chapters. And it gives you your chapter list over here and shows what you want to display. So if there's something in here, like you don't necessarily want world building, it'll take that out. I have chosen to show all, and I'll show you why in a second. So let's click analyze all chapters. And it does take some time here, especially for a full manuscript, like a 62,000 word manuscript. It's going to take a little bit of time. But as you can already see, what it's doing is it's it's going chapter by chapter, and it's literally giving what the synopsis of that chapter is. It's talking about what conflicts it can pick up. It's talking about the characters that are in that scene. And then world building, for example, even if your book is set in modern day, like a real world situation, what this does though is tell you, like, let's say you have in the chapter, you have 3 different places, 3 different settings. That might not be the best option to have 3 separate places of geography in one chapter. I'm not saying that it is, and I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying this can help you give you a high level overview of what is actually in your manuscript. And that's one of the things that I love about this is it's not giving you like, suggestions of, well, maybe you should do X, Y, and Z. What it's doing is it's saying, here are the elements that are literally present in your manuscript. And then it's on you to decide how you want to use that information. So, and that comes into play like down here, this possible contradiction events. This is probably one of the most helpful sections. So in this section, it says, like, in the beginning, she's described as feeling a brief moment of pride at being tough, ready to kick ass. Yet later, she expresses uncertainty about her bravado and where it stems from. So some of these are going to be expected, like you want some contradictions in your work, because that is the change arc. So you want to see some of that. But then some of the other things, like blah, 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 initially surrenders with raised hands, try to calm him down, but then suddenly decides to take matters into her own hands. So, some of these could be things that, like, I just didn't realize I was contradicting myself. And so that's a really good way of kind of seeing your manuscript at the chapter level, but also a high level. Like, where are you contradicting characters? Where are you contradicting events? And again, some of these you're going to be like, yeah, I know this, and that's fine. You can dismiss and you don't need to do anything about it. So it goes through the timeline analysis, which is also really good, because it's almost like beats. It breaks down what you've already written into beats, and then it also talks about, how these plot events are setting up for further development. And then foreshadowing, this plot thread tracking, it has been so helpful, because you can see the plot thread tracking through every single chapter. And so you can start to see where you're losing your plot threads simply by this software tracking these threads for you. And what you want to see by the end of your manuscript is that the plot threads are becoming smaller and smaller, and you're starting to close them up, right? The genre analysis is also, I was like, oh wow, so some of these chapters in this analysis are coming off in a different genre than what I had thought the book was. Not in this particular story, but for example, I put in the first couple chapters of my new horror writing series, and it said, okay, chapter 1 and chapter 2 are coming off more thriller than horror, and then chapters 3 through 5 are coming off more horror. So you can also look at that and say, okay, maybe I need to switch some of my language, some of my descriptions to be more horror if it's not kind of lining up with that genre. Again, this is all of this analysis is coming from the software picking up on what you've already written. And if it picks up something wrong, you as the author are always the one to say, yeah, I agree, or no, I don't think so. And so you don't have to go by anything that this says. It's simply giving you a breakdown of what is happening in your manuscript. And so it will break it down by chapters. Another great thing, we talked about the notes. You could click here, write a note. Oh, well, it looks like that one isn't working at the moment. Maybe it's because it's still generating, but you can click this notes button. I did it yesterday, and you can add a note directly from here, and it will go back to your manuscript notes, all of them connected at once. So that's what this chapter analysis does. And I think it goes through all of them. Yep. And then when we click over here, oh, it's locked. You have to wait until the current analysis finishes. So I am going to pause it here and wait for this to finish. And then we'll go into the fiction analysis, which is a broader sweep of the analysis. Okay, so now it kind of gets stuck at the end. I think it's finishing up, but I think it'll let me. Yep, it will go to the fiction analysis. So now what this does is it takes your entire manuscript as a whole and it breaks it down like into the premise. What are the conflict through lines, which so good, you guys, so good. Because this answers, well, I shouldn't say answers, it gives you the questions that aren't answered, like here, potential dangling plot threads. So like some of these might actually be things that I'm like, oh yeah, I really should have closed that loop. Or yeah, like I want this to be unknown in the end. And so you get to choose again, but at least it's telling you what's coming up. Unresolved plot threads, theme analysis, how far does the genre conform to what you said it was, and how can you enhance that conformity. So that's the difference between the fiction analysis and the chapter by chapter analysis. And in both cases, what you can do is export to a note, you can export to a docx, to a text file, and then you can completely clear it out. So if you exit out, if you go back into it, it's going to bring up everything again, unless you change something in the text. And then it will go through and it will you can click only changed chapters and it will notice what chapters have been changed and edited, and it will analyze them then. So that's what the fiction analyzer is. And you're going to have to give me a minute because my dog is barking and yeah, you can hear it. So just give me a second. Okay, so if that wasn't enough, if we go over here to the summary report, this is where it takes into account that up there in that corner where it was comparing, it's going to give us a full summary report of the Autocrit score and Frida McFadden, as I think her name. And you can choose whether you want it to be like what Autocrit would give you if you didn't have a particular genre or person in here. It would just base your score on the Autocrit elements. We'll get into the elements in a second. So that's the difference between these two. Let's see what happens if I just, actually, the score is pretty damn good. I'm pretty impressed with this. So this is completely different from the fiction analyzer, as it does a reflection on these elements. So it talks about your overall score, and then it gives you all of the main aspects and what it's analyzing and where your score fits within them. And I'm going to be honest, like this is pretty damn good. The video that I watched when I was learning how to use this, most of the people were coming in between 55 to 75%. So 89.8 is pretty dang good. And what it will do is it will tell you recommendations based on your score. So it's going to say, it's telling me that my word choice category is where I can make the most improvements. And you can go through, just like if we were to get out of this and we went to this word choice, we can go through all of these different analyzing options, but we can also see them individually. Like you can just do pronouns and names. You can just do sentence starters. But if we go back here to that summary report, it'll tell us a little further down in the report what the recommendations are. And unlike the story analyzer, this one, when you click to print, it's just going to save it as a PDF. So it doesn't export, and it's not, the formatting isn't great. So what I have done is I use my screen capture software, and yeah, it's going to say it's too large into 15 images. No thanks. I'm going to quit that. Honestly, I just put this up in the tab next to my story. And then, you know, you can print it out as the PDF and it'll give you all that information. But anyway, let's just go through it. So it's going to put your manuscript up against whoever you choose, whichever author you choose, or whatever genre you choose, alongside Autocrit's general settings. So, you know, your pacing is snappy, less than 5% of your paragraphs are being flagged as slow paced, which is great. I can see that I have less slow paced paragraphs than she does. That's not necessarily a good or bad thing. Again, what this is doing is it's only taking what you have written and analyzing it. So it's not taking into account the changes that you might make. It's not taking into account personal preference. So these are very biased in a way. But like if we go to where it said here, your word choice category. So if we click to word choice, we can see where it's pulling the power words and how many times I've used them. And obviously fear is coming in as a big power word. And it is, I think we can choose to, if we go back to overall score and we go down, adverbs, showing and telling, filler words, passive phrasing, tense, cliches, redundancies, again, word choice. So some of these you can actually run a report, just like I said, on that particular item. So then it pulls it back to your specific manuscript, and then it shows you right here. And you can click one of these and it will show you all instances. So you can, let's say you're like, maybe I don't need this. I can just get rid of this one. And boom, now you've gotten rid of one. And so it will, you can rerun the report once you've edited, and it will show you your new score or your new report. So each of these individually will do that. If we go to the combination report, I actually haven't done this one recently, so forget what it includes. Got it. Okay, so it is yeah, I mean it's we're in the analysis, so we're in the combination. So it's like going through and giving us you know, the passive indicators. So there's a lot of different ways that you can look at how your manuscript is being analyzed. And so look, what if we went here and we did, I'm gonna go, I think this would be considered thriller. It's definitely not horror in particular. I guess I could search. All right, so we're gonna go up there. Oops, I said horror and I didn't actually want that. And I don't want the combination report. Let's go thriller. There we go. We're gonna choose that. We're gonna go back to analysis and we're gonna go back to summary report. and we'll see how the score stacks up against just a genre instead of another author. And again, this may be confusing because 89.7, so I got 1 point higher. Okay, I'm okay with that. What I was saying is that I don't want you to confuse this analysis with what some of the other AI writing things are doing. This is not telling you how to write in the style of whatever, Frida McFadden, Stephen King. What it's doing is it's taking the overall structure of their books and what they write and analyzing things like this. So it's not, it is not telling you like, in order to, write in the style of Stephen King, you need to do blah, 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 blah. But if most of, for example, we're in the thriller instead of just an author, if a thriller has 106 slow-paced paragraphs and mine are only 13, depending on how you look at that, it could be an issue. Or like if I used more power words, how am I trying to put this? Like if I wrote this as more horror and I'm comparing it against a thriller, I might see that my word choices are completely different than what I really should be doing for a thriller genre type book. So that's what this is doing. It's not like giving you AI, here's the right way to, formulate the sentence, or if you write in the voice of Stephen King, there's none of that here. This is only giving you like an analysis, and it's not even giving you an analysis of like a particular book. It's giving you the overarching summary. So that's why I find it so helpful. It is not helpful to just look at one particular book in a genre and think that you should be writing according to that book, right? So you might want to write like Stephen King, and in a way you can do that by following some of his structure. So if he writes really snappy, quick paced chapters, maybe you do that, but you're not using his voice, you're not using his style. Yours is going to be completely different. The thing that might be similar though is you might both be using short, snappy chapters. So that's what these summary reports do. And I'm just touching the surface on everything that you can do in here. There is so much more to this than I'm even giving you. But I wanted to give you a good and deep enough preview of it so that you can decide if this is something you want to use for your books or your writing. And I just have to say that I am probably now going to be using this software a majority of the time because it's already helping me versus, now this entire chapter or this entire book is finished. But by putting in the first couple chapters of my horror series, I have already detected places where I have holes, plot holes, and where the character isn't consistent in how she's presenting. And so by doing that in the very rough chapters, I'm already fixing those things as I go along and not slowing down. And so it means less editing at the end of the book, when it's finished. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope it's helpful. And if you have any questions, please ask. I may not be able to answer them all, but I will certainly try. Have a great day and happy writing.